Hello, this is David Henry Young. I want to read a poem I wrote in 2002. It's called "The Towers Are Still Down." We are vulnerable. We are alive. We are here now, and I endure. I must endure. What else can I do? I will lift my hands to God's throne and trust Him. Though I squint through the sting of dust in my eyes and the blur of too much coffee too soon in the day and too late at night. Nevertheless, I will keep my eyes open. I will learn to be still. I will die with my eyes open. Concern of others for me has its desired effect. I yield, stepping onto the secret pathway soft on soles of tired feet. I walk to the door, open it, and see desolation within the land of my quiet, my most tender and meek place. My hideaway of spirit has been shattered, broken, and crushed by raging bitterness of war, deaths, and insanity. All of it existing in the space between object and mirror, reflected in dark ink on inventory sheets prepared with great precision by Graves registration Marines, not wanting to miss any of the names, lest we forget. I watched a flock of pigeons circling and spiraling in flapped cadence around a red-tailed hawk. Their locked defensive pattern showing at one turn nervous energy, at another turn the beauty of flight, golden and silver white afternoon light revealing the undersides of living wings at a glance. I was in a park, a memorial park, a park sitting without seasons among formed cement made to look like granite. They are sentinels, showing chiseled marks, spelling names of people who had died in wars, one of which I intimately know. Others I've read about and cried about, from the desperate battles of Trenton and Bunker Hill, where the whites of their eyes was the focused hope of victory, on to the dainty first battle of Bull Run, to the human carnage at Gettysburg that began in search of shoes for a tired army. Fields of blood and pride as at Antietam to the inhuman confusion of the Wilderness Campaign. We must remember the slit trenches of France, covered in blankets of blood, mud, and mustard gas, facing land where no man could live, later improving to the incinerating fire of a split atom, and on to the frozen gruesomeness of the Chosin Reservoir, where my fellow Marines did the impossible by advancing to the rear, bringing all their stacked dead with them. Let us not forget the sands of Anbar Province, or the house-to-house stress and tension in Baghdad, and the death and maiming by improvised explosive devices. These and so many more we are to remember for their honor and sacrifice, and to know with understanding that these places are where the fabric of humanness has been shredded beyond all recognition. Especially for me, at the little hamlet of An Hoa, South Vietnam in May 1970, where devils howled and orphan children whimpered and died, never knowing caliber or courage, where good men and women cried out, emptying out their souls of fear, revealing the passion for breath, only to have it denied in a sudden moment of ripping flesh and blood, the terrible horror of slaughter. All of this constantly invades my mind and threatens my heart. Today, it's beneath a seemingly benign sky, filled with wary pigeons and a solitary hawk. As a singular man sits and remembers, quietly watching birds fly instead of screaming. I wrote that in, like I said, 2002. Nearly 60 years have gone by. And God, my God, has been so merciful and kind to this Marine. I'm here now with my dear wife Maria, and a very large family in the province of Camarines Sur in Laganoy, Philippines. The Lord is doing a lot of restoration in my life. He's restoring, and He promises to do that. It's in the Bible. You know, you give your life to Him, you become His. He takes care of you. He allows you great grace to go forward in what you're doing, learning to listen to Him and to respond to Him and to learn to walk with Him. And it doesn't happen overnight. I've been walking with Him since 1974. I'll be 76 next month. And I feel like I'm about 30. Because He just gives you such joy and such vim and vigor, life. Every day. You got to enter in every day, consciously. And in my parlance of speech, when you're walking with the Lord, no matter what, and I mean walking with Him, hearing Him, following Him, obeying Him, picking yourself up, repenting when you screw up. And I wanted to just share a little note here about yesterday. I was watching an interview with one of my heroes, in the sense of a whole family that had really gone through it in their lives. You could write books upon books upon books about all the things they've gone through, and they're just, you know, look, they're regular people, even though they have all kinds of political stature, presence. I watched Tucker Carlson yesterday for about an hour and a half, and he was interviewing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And I watched the interview, and as it happens many times, my heart was just breaking. Because personally, when I was growing up, our family in Quincy, Massachusetts, had like a back door into the realm of the Kennedy mystique back in 1963, 60s, when he got elected to the presidency. At that time, the closest razor-thin margin of victory in the history of politics, in presidential politics, when he defeated Richard Nixon. Well, one of my aunts, I mentioned that my mom came from a family of five girls, and I think my mother was the third of the five. Well, the oldest gal was my Aunt Margaret, and she was the titular head of the five girls. She was the oldest, and their dad, who I'm named after, his name was David Henry Reed, as I'm David Henry Young. He's my grandfather. I never met him. He died before I was born, and he was a grocer in Boston at a place now which is called Quincy Market. Back then, it was just a hay market, basically where the hay from the colonial days, they would bring their hay and their other produce products to a marketplace in Boston at Haymarket Square, and it's been changed and named to Quincy Market, where I grew up in Quincy, Massachusetts, the city of presidents, the only city to bear two presidents, John Adams and John Quincy Adams. So what I'm saying is all this is swirling around in my mind, And like I said, when you get born again and when you follow Jesus and he's in your life and he's working with you and you're working with him, and it's, you know, he said, learn from me. It's real personal, you know, take his yoke, learn from him, and he'll give you rest, because he's humble, he's the king, he's the greatest. Anyway, I was watching this interview. Now, Robert F. Kennedy is the antithesis of a Roman Catholic. The Kennedy family were Roman Catholics, a large family. I think Joseph P. Kennedy, Robert's grandfather, I think they had something like 11 children, real Catholic family. Anyway, you know, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is the son of Robert F. Kennedy, who was assassinated in, I think, Los Angeles in a kitchen in 1968. And I was in Vietnam when it happened, and it was a tragic time period, the 60s. Just today is very much like the 60s, but in many ways it's worse because of the fine technology that has erupted all over the world. Anyways, I'm watching this interview by Tucker Carlson. Now, Tucker Carlson, as you may have heard, got dumped from Fox. He was the biggest ticket they had, but he said some things that they didn't like. You know, politically, you're not politically correct and all this other. Well, you know, he landed on his feet and went to Twitter when Twitter was bought by you know, Elon Musk and all this other stuff. And Twitter, you know, God is using Tucker Carlson to tell the truth. In this case, he's interviewing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for nearly an hour and a half, and I think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. spoke for about 85 minutes, maybe more, of the 90 minutes. I think it was 90 minutes, which is, you know, because Tucker he's a good interviewer, and in this case, he knew just to be quiet and let this man speak. And so he talked about everything you could think of, concise, readable, understandable, real clear, you know. And what broke my heart was that all the sense of the Kennedys in with the Youngs, the Walter W. Youngs of Beach Street in Quincy, Massachusetts, which is swirled in because I remember when, in 1960, I was 13 years old. I campaigned for him. I went around the neighborhood the night before the election with a sign around my neck saying, vote for Kennedy, you know, when I went trick-or-treating right before the election. And then what brought all this up, every time I see Robert F. Kennedy, all of my history with the Kennedy family through basically my mom and my dad, but because they're, you know, my Aunt Margaret was John F. Kennedy's secretary. She might have been the private secretary, I'm not sure, but she was one of the highest of the group of secretaries that take care of, you know, United States senators. And when he got elected, she went to his inauguration. We saw her on television. She got one of 100 personal invitations because she had worked for him, you know, and they knew one another personally. And I saw her, you know, we watched the inauguration on TV in 1960 or 61, I guess. I think it was in January, obviously, 61. You know, center section, third row, third seat in. There's Margaret, you know. And, you know, right up in front of her is her former employer, John Kennedy. And, you know, we're in the room, you know, we're in the living room watching this little TV. We didn't grow up with TVs, but at that point we had a TV. I think we may have had a car at that point, but I don't remember too much with cars until in my mid-teens that we had a car. Anyway, we're watching her, watch him speak, and, you know, we're cheering and we're crying and we're getting all rushed out, you know, and so fast forward to me watching Robert Kennedy in this interview, and it wasn't a little clip, it wasn't a 3-minute thing, it was an hour and a half, and All this is flooding back in my mind. And I just wanted to share that with you, that you've got your own stories. You know, God's wanting you to come into his heart and mind and soul. He's wanting you to, if you know him, to continue, press forward in him more and more and more. You know, if you don't know him, cry out to Jesus Christ, you know, because this may go to some place who never heard of Jesus. God's like that. He takes a little bit and he does a whole lot with it. And I mean, I'm the little bit and he does a whole lot with it because he's God and he can do that stuff. So I just wanted to bless you. And I hope this is, oh my goodness, this is 50, almost 16 minutes. I'm a talker. I got a lot of stuff in me and I want to share it all with you. And God's given me a little venue. And this is all new and it's great. And so God bless you. And I hope you press into Christ more and more today. See you later. Bye-bye.